Hey guys, it's your boy Davian. You guys already know what we're here to talk about. Make sure that you rate, comment, share, and subscribe. Do not hit that notification bell, and let's get into this discussion. Hey Conscious crew, and hello to all of my new subscribers. I know you guys see that I am in my 40 inches of kinky straight hair. I'm just in a Nicki Minaj, Alice in Wonderland kind of mood, so I thought that I would put on my magical kind of hair, since apparently we are certainly in a goddamn Twilight Zone. First we were surviving R. Kelly, then I had to survive my narcissistic ex, and now bitch, we're surviving Donald Trump, girl. Somebody just tell me where are the vouchers to sign up for the Section 8 on the fucking moon, because this world is doing too motherfucking much. And I want to thank all of you guys for your donations. I have been putting that money to good use. I have been reinvesting all of the coin you guys have been sending me into my production. I brought a ring light apparatus with one of the donations that I got from one of my subscribers. I shouted her out in my last or video before last, and she got on my ass. She was like, I didn't need any credit, but I'm like, I have to shout you guys out because I don't do super chat, because super chat, as you guys know, takes 30% of whatever's donated. So a lot of us content creators, we prefer PayPal or Cash App, which I will make a Cash App because you guys have been saying that you would prefer Cash App, but I thought you guys would be happy with PayPal because if anything does go wrong with your transaction, you do have a live customer service team to communicate with. Unlike on Cash App, it's like an automated system, so you don't really get live help. You don't get real-time help. But for those of you who want to donate to the show, you can donate at paypal.me/conscious-tv. All that information will be in the link below, and you can also email me any questions, any show suggestions, any stories you want me to cover, any fan art, and thank you guys for the fan art. I'm gonna get to that in another video. I got some creative motherfuckers following this goddamn channel, but you can email me at conscious-tv@gmail.com as well. This allows me to put my camera or my phone in a slot, and this thing has like UFO lights all around it, and it gives you 3 different tones. One of my handy dandy subscribers also brought me a microphone. This is the Snowball Black Ice microphone, and I freaking live for this thing, you guys. I plug this right into my MacBook Pro, and I can just get to talking shit. I am just hell on a microphone with this thing. This really blessed me. So I've decided that all donations are just going to go toward my actual show. Since you guys tune in and you guys support the channel, I figured this would be the best place to reinvest the money in. Once again, thank you guys for all of the donations. So you guys know that we are here to review the second episode of season 9 of Iyanla Fix My Life. The second episode is a 2-part episode. So we saw part 1 of And the Lie Detector Says. You guys know I always have my handy dandy notes because I don't want to miss a beat. So the synopsis for episode 2 and the Lie Detector Says is Mama Yvonne believes her daughters were molested and raped by their biological father based off of a obscure incident that occurred when her youngest daughter at 3 years old came home from her dad's with what appeared to be blood stains in her underwear. And another incident followed in the girl's youth where the daughter alleged that the dad had them sleep in his bed with their legs spread open at all times. So in this second episode, we see a family of 3 daughters and a father who is now the ex-husband of the mother all come together to unpack a family that's all knotted up in infidelity, allegations of sexual abuse and assault, tension within the relationships between the siblings themselves, as well as between the siblings and their parents. And this episode was really interesting for me because it reminds me somewhat of my family's dynamic, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on as we dig into this episode. The middle child is Whitney, who is the 3-year-old who appeared to have blood stains in her panties. And then we have Brittany. She's the youngest. This whole thing kind of revolved around Nicole, who's also the oldest, as well as Whitney, who's the middle. Whitney tells how ever since she can remember, her oldest sister Nicole has always kind of picked on her, teased her, kind of roughed her up her whole life. Things didn't kind of balance out and get okay between them until they entered into like high school, and then things went left again because the issues just kept piling on top of one another. Now, when it came out that the mom had Nicole, who was the oldest, out of a relationship or an affair she was having, mom had not gotten the dick in 4 months and ended up meeting Mr. Monzel, who is the father of the 3 girls. She ended up getting pregnant, and she resented this pregnancy because she got impregnated by a man she wasn't in love with. She was already currently in love and involved with another man, and this whole experience kind of toppled over her relationship and toppled over where she was in her life, and then she ended up resenting the pregnancy as a result. Iyanla made a striking point about the pregnancy. She said to the mom in their one-on-one, "Have you ever imagined what it was like for your baby girl to sit and marinate within your womb as you were resenting and disconnected from the experience?" And the mom said, "Yeah, I have thought about that." The seed was planted right in the womb, as Iyanla said, and that's really powerful, because on a subconscious level, especially for mothers who are the carriers and the child bearers, they're the incubators of the seed. Your child is marinating within all of your emotions, all of your beliefs, all of your feelings. Your body is also a physical apparatus, and there are literal chemical processes taking place when you're being hormonal, when you're depressed, when you're stressed, and all of this is being absorbed into the makings of your child, because your child is essentially growing itself from within yourself with all of the emotional and mental and spiritual and physical ingredients that is bringing pregnancy to full term. So that was really interesting that Nicole came into this world fighting and swinging, but it was really out of defense and out of trying to be heard by a mother who she was never connected to, even when she was being carried within that mother and one with that mother. And the way that Nicole referenced her mom as Yvonne and as her carrier, that was really interesting, because we don't really hear females speak about their mother in that way. We hear people speak about their fathers that way, my sperm donor, but it was really interesting to hear someone speak about their mother that way. After Nicole was conceived, then followed the rest of her sisters, and then at some point the mom had estranged herself from the biological father, who she allegedly said was abusing her, dragging her up and down the street, beating her. She separated herself from him, and they decided to co-parent. And at some point after the initial allegations regarding the blood in Whitney's underwear had happened, and then there were allegations made that he was allowing the girls to sleep in his bed with their legs wide open sometime, and the kids were acting erratic. They was just standing at the toilet screaming or hiding under the bed when he would come home. And so it seemed like at some point the mom decided to try to protect her children from their father, who she believed was abusing them, by putting Nicole up to lying to the courts about him molesting her. So in her eyes, her credibility with her mother was already skewed. Even if this had been a genuine occurrence between the biological father and Whitney as a little girl, in terms of Nicole, she was already emotionally very disconnected from her mother, because her mother was emotionally unavailable to her growing up, and even when she was inside of her mom. And on top of that, she had not had any memory of being molested herself. So therefore, she felt like when her mom was telling her to tell the courts, your dad molested you, that was just a bona fide lie. So when this lie continued to perpetuate itself throughout the years in the family, Nicole was team dad. I don't recall that. I have a better relationship to dad than I do to mom. And so out of retaliation, it appeared that mom punished Nicole by sending her off to foster care, which is fucking brutal. And Nicole had a whole emotional breakdown, saying that she couldn't understand why her mom sent her off to a foster care, but she kept her other 2 sisters. And I can imagine that type of outcasting. I mean, this is when my heart really began to go out to Nicole, because I mean, we're talking about literal abandonment. I mean, your mom gave you up emotionally, and then she turned around when you were a young girl and gave you up physically. I mean, that is brutal. And then you have this huge controversy bubbling up in the family, and then these children have witnessed divorce and the separation of their parents. I mean, this is a fucking lot. Talking about broken from the inside out, I mean, this was pretty fucked up. Things between Nicole and her mom got worse as she got older. Yvonne, the mother, would spread rumors apparently to Nicole's friends, saying that she was getting fucked by her father and that she liked it. And things continued to just get progressively worse. And to me, it feels like, based upon the way Nicole was narrating things and based upon some of the things that the mother was saying, unbeknownst to either one of them, it appeared that a lot of women who are bitter toward the baby's father kind of have a tendency to take out aggression that's really supposed to be reserved and projected onto the baby father, onto the kids, especially if the child looks like the father or if the child has traits and characteristics like their dad. And mom seemed to have used her daughter, unfortunately, as a fucking punching bag and as an emotional dumpster. And this has fucking deeply scarred Nicole, not only as a woman, but as a daughter and also as a sister. Now, just to kind of go back to the point about Nicole being unwanted since the time her mother conceived her in the womb, subconscious behavior is really interesting. Even Whitney said at one point toward the end of the episode that, you know, she had this whole emotional breakdown and she was just really conflicted between whether her mom was a liar or her dad actually did this. And she was really struggling to just wrap her head around this level of craziness. And she said she feels like this could have happened because somewhere in her body this feels familiar. Maybe that shows up in her not wanting to be in physical proximity to her dad. I don't know how physical they are. I don't know if they hug or if they kiss, but I do know that trauma does preserve itself in the body. And even if we can't recall an experience, we will have dis-eases just intuitively, like you just don't feel easy around a person for whatever reason. Nothing has ever really happened as far as you can tell, as far as you can recall, but you never really want to be close to this person. You always get this really weird vibe, or you seem to just really curl up in somebody's presence and don't know why. The body will still react to certain stimuli, certain sounds, certain moods, certain atmospheres. There's like a sense of deja vu, a sense of familiarity. Now, when Whitney got to talking about some of the stuff that her mom used to tell her, and there was one story where Nicole, as a young girl, was carrying Whitney around in her arms and banged her head up against the wall of the hospital. And Iyanla was kind of genuinely vexed, like, girl, do you really believe this? Doesn't this sound really fucking ridiculous? Do you really think that your mom would have put you as a newborn baby in the arms of a 6-year-old? But Iyanla, considering that all the families that have appeared on your show are fucking crazy and dysfunctional, I'm surprised at this point that you are still surprised at any type of scenario and sit down. I mean, you are talking to a family who believes that the biological father actually molested or raped his 2-3-year-old daughter. We're talking about dysfunctional motherfuckers here. Iyanla then confronts the mom about why she allowed her young daughters to then eventually go live with their father, because the mom genuinely believed that he was abusing them. So how do we go from abuse to you basically handing your kids over to the man who you think belongs behind bars and to a man who you feel is violating his kids? Now, Yvonne's response was actually logical, but it was also flawed. She said, well, at that time, they were teenage girls. They were older at that point. They felt like I was keeping them from their dad. And in order to put that myth to rest, I allowed them to make their own decision in terms of if they wanted to have a relationship to him. They knew what he had been accused of. And if they still felt like they wanted to get to know him and be close to him, I wasn't going to stand in the way of that. And she also said that because they were older at this point, she felt like they could reasonably defend themselves against their father if he ever tried to come on to them in any type of inappropriate way. Now, that makes sense in the sense of, you can't stop teenage kids from connecting to the other parent, for one. If these girls were aware of the rumor, but still in and of themselves, they wanted to get to know their father still, that was their right as young women, because that is their dad. And they're going to make that decision to be around him at whatever point anyway. Even if Yvonne would have said, no, y'all can't see him until you're 16 and you can legally make your own damn choices, but while you live up in here, you're not going to see him. Even if she would have did that, when the girls would have turned 16, 17, they would have had a right to make their own decisions. If that's what they wanted to do, they would have went and did it any fucking way. So I get Yvonne's logic in that regard. However, what the fuck I don't understand is, why did the mother and the daughters and the father wait so fucking long to take a lie detector test? Like, if I was Yvonne and I believed that my ex-husband had sexually abused any of my daughters at any point in time, I would have had a lie detector test done. The mom should have took some other type of fucking measure, and as well as the dad. Like, the dad knew what the allegations were, the mom knew what the allegations were, and they both are participating in this Iyanla show. They both showed up to the process. They both are being willing participants. They all did the lie detector, so it seems like if they were all willing to do this now, they certainly would have been willing to do it then. So I don't think Yvonne would I don't think the dad would have put up any fight with the mom, you know, to get a lie detector test done, especially if he knows he's fucking innocent, because why would he not want to get a lie detector test done? You know, so it's just, that was just weird to me. I didn't understand, like, why they waited this long to get a lie detector test done. That could have been done 20 goddamn years ago. I still just have a lot of fucking questions. Like, this is definitely a lot of shit that is not going to be able to be cleared up in 2 episodes. I can already tell that. But before I get into what I believe part 2 is going to reveal as it relates to the lie detector test, I just have some questions about some things. As it relates to this incident regarding the underwear, I don't believe something happened, as in something happened between the father and Whitney. I don't believe that. Because, mind you, Iyanla also pulled the receipts and actually pulled up the details of the investigation. The investigation revealed that the stains found in Whitney's underwear was not in fact blood, it was actually Kool-Aid. And that the medical exam could not determine that any of the kids had been violated sexually, that rape had occurred, that molestation had occurred. So essentially the courts deemed the dad innocent. The mom, as far as public opinion was concerned, she was not a believer. She believed he was guilty as charged. The mom is in an interesting position because she's accusing her ex-husband of domestic violence. Now, as a mother, if I'm being abused by a man, automatically my mind goes into shock. And my mind tells me that I cannot put nothing past the man that I chose to marry and that I chose to bear 3 kids with. The mom eventually separates herself from the marriage. They start co-parenting. But Yvonne's perception of her ex-husband never changed. This is a man who has beat her, who has drugged her ass up and across the street, who have bloodied her up, who have physically hurt her. Mentally, he's a monster to her. So now this really weird moment happens where she's changing her daughter's clothes and she sees stains in her daughter's underwear. Immediately, she's going to assume it's blood. Because for one, if this man could beat me and hurt me, why should I believe he's not capable of hurting the children? I don't blame her for not putting it past the ex-husband. If you have violated me as the mother of your child, you violating your children in any kind of way that's not extreme. That's not like out of the arena. That's all within the same fucking box of shit. So I think she made an assumption because she already had a preconceived notion about her ex-husband based upon her own personal experience. And even though they went through the legal procedures of investigation, the verdict was rendered innocent on his behalf. Personally, she never got past it. She ended up planting the seed in her daughters. I don't think it was necessarily intentional, which is why I believe it would be possible for Yvonne as to pass her lie detector test. And the question is, did you lie about the allegations made against your daughter's father? And Yvonne answers no, and the lie detector test determines that's true, that she did not make this up, that she did not lie. That still to me wouldn't mean that it's true. But if she believes in her head he's capable of doing this and that he did this, I believe that fucking lie detector test would pick that shit up too. So I'm very curious to know as to what the hell is going to happen with this lie detector test. I do think the deal breaker is going to be whatever is the verdict for the dad as it relates to the lie detector test, if he did or did not sexually abuse any of his daughters. Now, it's also true that just because a man is whipping your ass, that does not then make him a pedophile. It does not then make him a rapist. But when you violate people in ways that are just not right, it makes anything fucking possible. So whatever people make of you when you act out of character, when you act violently, when you go over and beyond, and physical violence is very extreme. That's extreme. To be beating the hell out of somebody that you are married to or in a relationship with for no other good reason other than just being in your wacky ass emotions, that's extreme. And for the person surviving the abuse, their barriers are already destroyed by your fucking behavior. So I would be willing to give Yvonne a fucking pass. If the dad, though, did molest his kids, this nigga is probably going to fucking jail. And that is also going to have a crazy motherfucking impact on this family because Nicole is team dad. And I know her ass is already crazy. That just adds a whole nother layer of fucking crazy. And Whitney don't want this to be true at all. She would almost rather it be that her mom lied than her dad did this. Both of them are bad, but obviously the lesser of these two evils is I would prefer to deal with my mom being a lying bitch than to deal with my dad being a pedophile and molesting or raping me as a child. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with both of these families. So you guys tell me what you guys are going to make of part 2. What did you think of part 1? What are your predictions for part 2? Who do you think is lying? Who do you think is telling the truth? And do you think that Whitney and Nicole are going to be able to get their relationship back on track? Because there was also a physical altercation at some point where Whitney had her son on her, and Nicole apparently didn't give a goddamn. She got to swing in any damn way. Ratchetology times 12. But considering all that Nicole has been through and what she's internalized, you know, I'm not going to say she has an excuse, but I'm going to say that her dysfunctional is understandable, and I have compassion toward Nicole because she was really dealt a rough hand in terms of her dynamics with her mother and the controversy of her family and what she was put through at a young age because of her mom being sent off to foster care because she wouldn't lie about something that she didn't find to be true. I mean, it's crazy. This is crazy. Shout out to Mignon Williams from the first episode of Iyanla Fix My Life. She was one of 2 other females who appeared on the first episode of this season. She actually commented on my last review and she subscribed to the channel, so much love to Mignon. If you see this video, tell me what you think about this episode of Iyanla, especially since you sat there right before the great Iyanla herself and y'all did this work as it related to your life and the other women's life. We will do a part 2 review next Saturday. Once again, make sure you comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. You guys already know you can PayPal me at paypal.me/conscious-tv and email me any of your thoughts, feedback, any of your personal work. If you want me to shout out a business you have, I have a whole segment for my podcast coming up where I'm going to be highlighting entrepreneurial businesses and people who have their own businesses. If you are a recording artist, if you are a screenwriter, if you have any talent whatsoever, I'm gonna highlight your art and your business on my platform. So definitely email me, you guys. And I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys later.